Hello everyone, back to today's first video. Going to do the season 1 roundup for summer of 2018 for today's first video. So we're going to look at 9 long-range season models, see what they're all showing for the summer. And this is of course in anticipation of the summer forecast being released at the end of May. So there'll be 2 more season 1 roundups for the summer coming up in April and in May. And then when we get to the end of May, we'll put those season 1 roundups together with our analogues updates, and we'll attempt to create a forecast for the summer of 2018. So quite a big update to start off your Saturday morning. Just say that later on today we'll have the weather for the week ahead. That will be with you same time, same place, as always on a Saturday. And that's going to cover the Easter period. Of course, could be some cold weather coming up for Easter, but we'll know more when we do the week ahead forecast. And just say it can be quite a longish video, so you can't watch it all in one go. Don't worry, you will be able to come back and watch it at the website whenever you want, because I'm going to place it later on today on the summer updates and forecast page. There'll be an extensive written report that goes with this update as well. So this video, so you'll be able to read the written report and watch the rest of the video if you haven't been able to watch it all in one go. And thanks everybody for doing that. Just to say that later on today we'll be starting, or having a little bit of news anyway about our competition. We're going to start the competition tomorrow, but at the start of weekend forecast, I'll be revealing the prize that we're going to be giving away. We're teaming up with metcheck.co.uk weather instrumentation. I'm on metcheck.co.uk's weather instrumentation's website right now. So at the start of weekend forecast, you will see the prize that we're going to be giving away, and I'll have all the information about how you can enter the competition and everything else for you at the start of the weekend forecast. So that'll be quite exciting to see what our spring competition is going to be this year. So we're going to begin our summer 2018 season 1 roundup by having a look at the long-range model from Brazil first of all. We are short of a few models this month. I've taken the NASA model out because I didn't find that the new sort of forecast system that they got there was very relevant. Really very hard to use that one, so I've taken that one out. We haven't got the JMA yet because it doesn't cover the full time frame. We haven't got APEC either, so we are short of a few models. We've got 9 to be going on with. And this one, the Brazilian model, doesn't cover the full summer period, actually. It only covers May, June and July, so sort of late spring to early and mid-summer. But you can get sort of an idea of what it's showing, certainly for the early part of summer. Anyway, from this 500 millibar height anomaly. So this is what it's showing. It has an area of above average heights out to our west. This one always does things a little bit different, by the way. So blue on this chart is extrapolating to high pressure, and yellow, orange and red are extrapolating to low pressure, which on any other height anomaly is always the other way round to that. I'm not sure why they do this one differently. But anyway, they're showing an area of above average height centered just to our west through the middle part of the Atlantic. Bit of a mid-Atlantic ridge, and there's not really a trough over to the east of us, but you would assume there's probably some sort of troughiness going on across central parts of Europe, which means that for the flow with the jet stream, we're probably doing something a little bit like that. So I suspect that's a fairly coolish and possibly quite unsettled summer as well. We're not about a washout summer because we are blocking off the Atlantic quite a lot, but it may be a little bit showery, and the main thing with the flow coming from a northwesterly direction will probably be fairly cool temperatures as well, with that high pressure out to the west of the country. So this is the precipitation anomaly that we see with the Brazilian model. Actually, that's for March, April and May. So let's just flip that over to go to May, June and July. So it doesn't make much difference, actually. It just shows average precipitation coming up then, with no great deviation expected. And obviously, because we're blocking off the Atlantic out to our west, I suspect we will probably not have an overly wet season. So I mean, we're not talking about a dry season, dry summer, but probably not overly wet, maybe a little bit on the showery side at times. So moving on next, we'll have a look at temperatures, and this is what the temperature anomaly is showing from the Brazilian model for May, June and July. So we're going to be just short of the full summer period, but temperatures are coming out no better than average. So these long range models, they do tend to overestimate temperatures a little bit. So average sort of temperature anomalies for the summer, that might be a little bit on the cooler side, really, for what you can expect from these long-range models. So overall, just average temperatures, average precipitation, if we take model at face value, but I do think it might be a rather cool signal with that high pressure centred out to our west. This is a Canadian model. This is CanSits from website tropicaltidbits.com. Find the link to Tropical Tidbits on the links page. So this is mean sea level pressure, and it has low pressure up to our north, and then high pressure sort of out to our west southwest. So nothing overly dramatic going on, probably bringing the jet stream through rather like that. And by the way, this is covering the full summer period, and now all of the models that you see in this video will cover the full sort of summer period. So that's a very typical summer type setup, really, with the Azores high ridging towards us, low pressure up to the north, probably bringing some unsettled weather at times, but nothing overly dramatic to be seen with that anomaly. This is the temperature anomaly. This is a little bit more interesting because that's coming out warmer than average, not just for the UK but for many parts of Europe. But however, I have noticed CanSets does seem to overestimate the temperatures quite a lot, actually. So it is going for a warmer than average summer. I'm not sure how seriously we can take it. This model does seem to overdo the temperature signal quite a bit. But I suppose with the Azores high very close to us, that may be like the kind of temperature anomaly you would expect, because that Azores high would be throwing up ridges fairly regularly, and those ridges are able to get the winds into the south to the southwest too. Precipitation anomalies for the summer from CanSits, coming out a little bit on the dry and outside, average to a bit drier than average, so quite a nice summer actually is being predicted by the CanSits model this month. This is the analogues from Patal Peng. So Patal Peng works within the envelope of NOAA in the United States official weather forecasting organisation. So these are analogues based forecasts based on sea surface temperature anomalies. So Patal Peng has looked at sea surface temperature anomalies across the world in any given month, in this case in February. And from those sea surface temperature anomalies created an analog-based forecast going forward. So this is the 200 millibar height anomaly for the summer of 2018 based on Patal Peng's analogues, and this one looks much more unsettled. Below average heights centering themselves just over and to the west of the country. We have got the Azores high, but it's a fair old way to the south, and we've got quite a blocking signal going on as well up towards Greenland, and so that's bringing the jet stream more or less through the country like that. So that looks a rather cool and unsettled summer signal from Patal Peng's analogue. So temperature anomalies, they're coming out for the UK and Ireland no better than average, very close to average with the temperature anomalies. And as far as the precipitation anomaly is concerned, that is coming out quite substantially above average. So a rather cool and wet summer being predicted by Patal Peng's analogue. So far, no real trend within these models. Let's have a look at CFS V2 next. So this is the main long-range seasonal model from NOAA, and this is the 700 millibar height anomaly for the summer, and nothing really to get nothing particularly to gain from this 700 millibar height anomaly. You can't really read anything into this. There's a slight area of above average heights over towards Newfoundland, but other than that, across the Atlantic and across Europe, there's nothing really to be seen. And that's kind of like what you tend to see with these seasonal models this far out for the summer, because summer is always a very difficult season to predict, because the weather patterns are always much more sluggish in the summer, and the long-range models will have a job to latch on to the pattern. So we can't really gain anything useful, glean anything useful from the CFS V2 700 millibar height anomaly. This is a temperature anomaly for the summer from the CFS V2. And, well, again, it's a very weak signal, but all you can say with that is that there's no real suggestion of a particularly warm summer. There are these little blue splodges here and there. So we've got one across eastern England, a few across Denmark, some up over Scandinavia, some over towards Poland. They're just telling us that in a few places the model wants to have the temperature anomaly a little bit cooler than average. It's not a uniform signal, but certainly what we can say, and this model tends to be quite biased towards the warmer side of things, I think. So what we can say is that there's no particularly strong signal for either UK and Europe, for the UK and Ireland, or for Europe. There's no real sort of strong indication here of a particularly warm or hot summer coming up. Precipitation anomalies for the summer look like that. So across northern Europe, it's coming out drier than average this summer. A little bit of a suggestion perhaps of a Scandinavian high there. But again, very weak signals. And for western parts of Europe, maybe, if anything, a little bit more on the unsettled side. But I have to emphasise that is a very weak signal from the CFS V2. I suspect over the next sort of couple of updates, it will start to firm up a little bit. This is the ECMWF mean sea level pressure anomaly forecast for the summer. This is from the Copernicus website. And again, very, very weak signals. Nothing really to go on there in terms of the mean sea level pressure anomaly for this summer. So again, I think just got to get through that very quick, because there's nothing really to say. It's all this white that we've got here across the Atlantic, we've got across Europe, as we've got across America. It's just telling us that the model doesn't yet have a clear idea about where the pressure patterns will be going through this summer. Temperature anomalies, again, nothing to be overly excited or alarmed about, really, just coming out very close to average. If anything, you'd possibly say a little bit on the cooler than average side, particularly over in the Atlantic to our west. But again, very weak signals, nothing to be overly excited or overly concerned about from a temperature perspective. Northern America being seen to have quite a warm summer though. And then in terms of a precipitation anomaly from the ECMWF seasonal model, that again, if anything, it's a weak signal, but maybe a little bit on the drier side. So no clear signal, I don't think. I think that's the message from this first update so far anyway. There's no really clear signal from these long-range models for the summer. This is the Meteo France seasonal model. Again, this is from the Copernicus website. Again, this is the mean sea level pressure anomaly for the summer. What this one is showing is it does have a little area of above average heights generally out to our west. Below average heights, therefore, are up to the north and northeast. I think the jet stream would be going a bit like that. That's a little bit similar to what the Brazilian model was showing, what we started off with in terms of the 500 millibar height anomaly from the Brazilian model. Having a look at the temperature anomaly, again, it looks rather cool, to be honest. The temperature anomaly through most of northern Europe, and I suspect British Isles is included in that, is coming out rather cooler than average. So quite a cool summer being predicted there for northern Europe anyway from Meteo France. And then in terms of the precipitation anomaly, so the UK looks quite close to, or maybe a little bit drier than average for precipitation. Wetter than average to our north, and possibly hinting at being a bit wetter than average over Scandinavia as well. So I think the pattern that's going for is high pressure to be generally to our southwest, with low pressure up to the north, and the jet stream going in that sort of position. Not a particularly good summer, and certainly from a temperature perspective, probably rather cool. This is quite interesting though. This is Jamstec. This is the temperature anomaly from Jamstec, and it's actually coming out with a very warm, if not quite a hot summer, this one, across many parts of northern and central and also Western Europe. Now, this model tends to be a little bit biased on the colder side when you're way off. So usually on these first updates, these first season model roundups that we do, the Jamstec model will often be going for a cold season, or below average temperatures anyway, on the first update, and then it'll kind of like moderate that as we get close to the season. By the time you get through to update 3, usually Jamstec will be going for a milder than average season in line with all other models. So it's quite unusual actually to see the Jamstec looking that warm this early out from the season. But it is going for quite a hot summer there, particularly centering across France, interestingly, but the UK is included in that as well. It's the only model we've seen so far, but it is going for a hot summer. The precipitation anomaly is coming out drier than average, so obviously it's placing a very large ridge somewhere across sort of Central Europe, and it's pulling the air up in a southerly direction, bringing quite a lot of heat out of Spain and Portugal. So a hot and dry summer being predicted by Jamstec, very unusually for that model. This is the Beijing Climate Centre. We're almost done with the penultimate model. So the Beijing Climate Centre is going for an area of above average heights in the 500 millibar height anomaly to be, again, generally centred to our west-southwest, which brings the jet stream in rather like that. So we have seen a little bit of this in a few of the models that we've looked at. If there is a trend to be got from this first season model round, it's possibly high pressure to be centred to our west-southwest, which pulls in the wind from a relatively cool sort of westerly or possibly even northwesterly direction. This is how the precipitation, the temperature anomaly is looking from the Beijing Climate Centre, coming out average to ever so slightly cooler than average. So again, going for a rather cool summer with the Beijing Climate Centre, and then the precipitation anomaly is coming out drier than average, generally on the drier than average side. So that's, we've seen that a few times through these long-range models with high pressure centred to the west, and so it's relatively dry signal because we block off the Atlantic, excuse me, but we have the jet stream coming down from the northwest with the flow coming from the northwest as well, and so temperatures overall are rather cool. And then finally, we finish with the UK Met Office GWV 5 model. This is the mean sea level pressure anomaly for the summer, and this one is looking quite unsettled with low pressure out to the northwest. Not really much high pressure to be seen. The temperature anomaly is close to or maybe a little bit above average, and the precipitation anomaly is more or less above average as well. So going for near normal temperatures, but quite a unsettled and potentially quite wet summer from the UK Met Office. So a really mixed bag there. There's no, I think it's very, very difficult to get a trend there. If there is a trend, it's possibly, as I've said, the high pressure to be centred to the west-southwest of Ireland and out in the middle of the Atlantic, and so we pull the winds down from the northwest, which is quite a cool direction in the summer, but because the Atlantic is rather blocked off, it's not an overly wet summer, so perhaps cool and dry, which is an unusual combination in the summer, but perhaps cool and dry is the trend of this first update. But if it is, it's a very, very weak one because there is a lot of intra-model variation here. The only model that's going for anything particularly hot this summer, worth noting, is the Jamstec model, which is very, very unusual for that model because normally at this point it would be quite cool or even quite cold in update number 1. So we're going to have to wait till next month for update 2, I think, to see if we can pick up a trend out of all of this, because there's too much intra-model variation to be able to say that there's a clear direction that these models are going in Summer is always the hardest season to forecast, not just for these models, but for me, myself as well, because a lot of the drivers that we look at, call them teleconnections, a lot of those are much less influential in the summer. They're very important for the winter, things like El Nino, La Nina, solar activity, Cubio, you know, the things that we look at through the season. They are very, very important, those teleconnections and drivers in the winter, but in the summer, they're always much less important. So the signals are always, therefore, a lot weaker in the summer, which makes summer just about the hardest season to forecast, and we see the evidence of that with these long-range models too, with so much variation between the model runs. So for next month, for the second seasonal model roundup, summer of 2018, we'll have more models to add into the mix. We'll have the JMA, and we'll have a few more as besides that as well. And hopefully we'll have a clearer signal for what's going to happen in next month's second update. Don't forget to check out the weekend forecast, which will be coming up later on. That's going to start off by revealing the prize that we're giving away in association with metcheck.co.uk weather instrumentation at the start of the weekend forecast. This video later on today will be placed on the summer updates and forecast page. There'll be an extensive written report that goes with it as well. Tomorrow, a big day, we'll be launching the competition and we'll have the GWV Sunny Roundup. We've got some very interesting summer analogues coming up for you tomorrow as well. So there'll be plenty of updates for you at website tomorrow. Come back later on for weekend forecast. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching.